What's up, everybody? I'm Rick.
And I'm Anna.
And welcome to our bucket list channel, a channel in which we try to realize the goals and dreams that are on our bucket list.
All of them.
Yes. Oh my god, you scared me there. Today we're going to be working on one of those goals, which is to watch every movie that was nominated at the Academy Award from 1927 to 2028.
All of them.
Can't get me twice. One of those movies we've just watched is Joker, the 2019 film, which is nominated for Best Picture this year. For those of you who don't know, first part of our discussion is going to be spoiler-free. We'll discuss the movie that we just watched, but without spoiling anything for you who haven't seen it or don't want to be spoiled. Second part is going to be more spoiler-filled, and we'll warn you before we get there, just in case you don't want to get all those plot details ruined for you. But before we get to that, what I like to do at the beginning is...
My favorite part!
Give you, Anna, and you guys at home who might not know, a little bit of information about the movie, surrounding the movie. Sometimes it's more interesting than others, but hey, I do
I
what
feel
I can.
like this one will be interesting.
Oh, yeah, don't put all that pressure. Oh my god. Let's start with some info. Joker, 2019 movie produced by Warner Brothers Pictures and Co. It's a movie that came out October 4th, 2019. Based, of course, on the DC characters. Joker, Wayne, etc. Batman characters. Directed by Todd Phillips. Starring Joaquin Phoenix as Arthur Fleck, or Joker. Brett Cullen as Thomas Wayne. Frances Conroy plays Penny Fleck, Joaquin's mother in the movie. Robert De Niro as Mara Franklin. Not the first time. We've watched a few movies from this year, and some actors keep popping up,
Yeah, I feel
Scarlett
like...
Johansson, Robert De Niro, Al Pacino. So, Philip conceived Joker in 2016 and wrote the script throughout 2017. He was inspired by 70s character studies and Martin Scorsese films, particularly Taxi Driver and The King of Comedy, two movies who also stars Robert De Niro. And I don't know if you ever seen The King of Comedy, but The King of Comedy is an heavy influence on this, I feel like.
Okay,
Yeah.
no, I've never seen it, but now that you told me that, I'm curious.
If you go watch The King of Comedy, you will see this movie in another light, I feel.
Okay.
Yeah. Scorsese was initially attached to the project as a producer, but had to leave because he was busy doing something else called Irishman. Also, another inspiration was the graphic novel Batman the Killing Joke, in which, one of the main theme of The Killing Joke is that it only takes one bad day, to turn good men or normal people into the Joker. Which is, and The Killing Joke, it's the point that he's trying to prove. But otherwise, there were no, specific, it's not a direct interpretation of The Killing Joke, of course, because this serves more as a Joker story, while Killing Joke is still a Batman story. The film polarized critic. Some people loved the movie, valued the music, the performances, the aesthetic, while others criticized the interpretation of mental illness, and also the place that violence has in the movie, the portrayal of violence and mental illness, basically. And how, we'll talk more about it in the spoiler section, but how those two are...
interconnected?
No, but I don't want to go any further than that without giving plot element. But especially when talking about violence, so we'll see. But despite that, the movie was a commercial success. Grossed more than $1 billion, which is the first R-rated movie to do so.
Ever?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's surprising.
But yeah, on a much smaller budget, like 55 to 70 million budget.
55 to 70. And to that one it grossed 1 billion.
More than 1 billion. So the number I have as of now 1.071 billion. And even though, the critics when they reviewed the movie were split, some called it a masterpiece, some said this movie has issues, it still got a lot of accolades, a lot of awards, and it's also nominated for the Academy Awards Best Picture. That's why we're talking about the movie. But it's also the movie at the Academy Awards that has the most nomination.
This is the one?
This is the one.
Okay, please do tell me.
So, 1917, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and Irishman have 10. This one has 11.
I wasn't actually thinking, because you did tell me there was one movie who had 11 nominations, and I'm always trying not to spoil myself on information like this because I like it so much getting the information from you. So I didn't actually look into it, but I didn't think it would be the Joker. Yeah. Honestly, I didn't think this would be the one.
I told you you'd be surprised. Yeah. So, these nominations are Best Picture, of course, Best Director, Todd Phillip, Best Actor, Joaquin Phoenix, Best Adapted Screenplay, Scott Phillip and Scott Silver, Best Cinematography, Lawrence Sher, Best Film Editing, Jeff Groth, Best Makeup and Hairstylist, great makeup in this movie, Nikki Letterman and Kay Georgiou, Best Costume Design, Mark Bridges, Best Original Score, Hildur Guðnadóttir, Best Sound Mixing, Todd Ozanik, Dean Zupankik, and Todd Meltad. Best Sound Editing, Alan Robert Murray. I might have massacred some of those names here. I'm sorry. But yeah, for now, this is all the information that I have. Let's get into a spoiler-free discussion. So, start with our usual question. Did you like this movie?
I did like it so much. You were mentioning like the nominations that it has for the Academy Awards, and I was thinking, as you were mentioning them, I see this movie possibly winning quite a few of those.
Yeah.
Like when you were mentioning makeup and hairstyle, costume design, music, what's it like?
Best original
score. Like so good, all of those, so impressive. Actor, like the main actor,
Joaquin Phoenix. This is definitely a one-man show.
It's so impressive. It's so convincing. It's so good.
So let's talk about that first. Performances. I'm saying it's a one-man show, but would you say it really is, or did other people?
It is really, because you do feel like 75% of the movie is just him.
Yeah.
Everyone else, the story was so focused on him that you feel like it mattered less, which I'm sure obviously it doesn't. If the other actors don't perform well, you feel it.
Yeah.
So they did perform really well, but it's just that he takes so much out of that he is just like the center piece, like the star of everything.
And everyone else is only there to serve.
Like, to support him, to bring to light his character.
It's the definition of supporting actor. Like,
yeah.
He's the main actor, true and true. Like, there is no one else. Like, even Robert De Niro has a very minor role compared to his, So, yeah, I will agree with you. Like, the performance of Joaquin Phoenix is probably the highlight of this movie, along with makeup, hairstyle, and music, which were all great. And I want to go...
costume design, too.
Yeah.
We gotta talk about that.
So I want to go there a little bit. Like, the look and sound of the movie. Like, what did you think of all of those elements?
So, the look, I feel like, while not replica of anything that I've seen, like other versions of
Gotham,
of Gotham, of the Joker, of like, you can definitely feel it. It is not a replica of anything that you've seen before, but enough elements are there that you can recognize it, which I feel like is so good because it makes it feel very realistic. But at the same time, you can it makes you feel like you are in a DC universe movie.
And this is something that the movie tries a lot, is to keep it grounded in reality.
Yeah.
A universe that is so often fantastical because there are superheroes in it. Here, no, this is all real as real as can be.
It is, yeah, it's true, and you feel it all like through and through. You do feel it, like this story from the beginning to the end. It could be like the real story of someone
yeah.
in this world.
Let's talk about that a little bit. The story. Did you like the story? Did you feel like that was a strong point too?
I feel like it started, like we mentioned already, it started in a very real kind of way, where at some point, like still in the beginning of the movie, I was wondering like, how is this gonna become the story of Joker? Like it needs to be extreme. You feel like it needs to be that kind of extreme, and it becomes that.
Yeah.
Like the more you advance, it goes there.
The movie has an excellent sense of escalation.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's to the level of Parasite, which to me was masterful in its escalation. But here they do a great job. Like of as the movie goes on, like things happen and pile on each other, and you're like, oh my god, we're far from where we started at the beginning.
Yeah,
but,
exactly. I feel like it works so well. They did such a good job with that.
Yeah. No, it is a nice story, and I'm a bit maybe partial to the whole thing because I like Batman, I like Joker, I like comic books, but I really enjoyed that story too. Would you recommend this movie?
I would, and more so than just I would recommend this movie. You did mention that you like Batman and the Joker and comic books. I would definitely recommend this movie to someone who's not into comic books. It still works. It works as the story that it wants to tell. As just
a movie.
Yeah, exactly. You don't even need to follow through the rest of the like DC universe. You can just watch this movie and it stands by itself and it works great.
You miss small connections, those small or small or big, depending on who you talk to. Like someone who doesn't know anything about Batman, at the certain characters and certain scenes wouldn't hit you as hard.
Yeah, I suppose that is true. But you still get the story just
you understand the story totally. I would also recommend it if you haven't watched it. Go ahead right now. It's still in theater now, I think. Probably is because it's nominated at the Academy Awards, so they might have dusted it up and put it back in theaters for a few weeks. Go see it. But now we're going to move on to our spoiler discussion. If you don't want to be spoiled, I invite you to like the video and leave. Come back for our next movie review or our next video. Before that, I want to just give a short synopsis of what the movie is. So the movie is set in 1981. It follows Arthur Fleck, a failed stand-up comedian whose descent into insanity and nihilism inspire a violent counterculture revolution against the wealthy and a decaying Gotham City, which pretty much sums up the movie. The first elements I want to talk about with you is we mentioned a bit earlier like some of the stuff that might have bothered some critics.
Okay.
And I told you that both violence and the portrayal of mental illness were things that bothered some people. One of the elements that I've seen a lot from critics is because this is a Joker movie, he's the head character, it's an origin story, there is no retribution, there is no comeuppance, there is no consequences for his action. That is one thing. And the movie almost makes you side with him in a sense.
Yes.
Even though the actions, mostly from beginning to end, are horrible, his actions. And so what do you say to people who have these kinds of critics?
So, well, first of all, you have to understand that this is a movie about essentially like a negative character, like the bad guy in the story, but at the same time him being the main character of this movie. I feel like that's what happens every time you have a movie of this kind. Like it makes you see the actions of the bad character through his eyes. It's not like you agree or it's not like you accept, but you understand how he gets there or why it gets to that.
I don't really agree with these critics in particular because I feel like this is where the movie succeeds. It's not so much that it put violence on a pedestal and says, "Look at this guy, aren't you happy you sided with him?" But it's that it manages to make you see things from his point of view without necessarily making you think, "Oh, I'm gonna go outside and murder people now,"
Yeah,
like
obviously no.
or
It
that
doesn't work in that
or that
way.
you agree with anything that he was doing. You just see why he did it. You
Yeah,
understand
exactly.
why he's doing it. The fact that he's not redeemable or not redeemed at the end, or that he doesn't get punished for his crime. Like he ends up in Arkham but escapes after killing the psychiatrist. I don't think that that's a bad thing. One of my big problems with Suicide Squad was that they took these villains and they try to make them like into heroes,
Yeah, exactly.
Like, no, they're villains. If you want to tell me a story about villains, tell me a story about villains.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's exactly what they do here, and I appreciate that. I love that.
I feel like it works very well in that sense. And also, like, I mean, we are talking about the Joker. For anybody who knows even a little bit about Batman and the Joker, you know what kind of character the Joker is. And that is what he does. What you usually see in like the classic story is Batman coming in and stopping him, or like, saving the day or something like this. But in this case, we don't have Batman. We only have the Joker.
Yeah.
And there's like no stopping him.
Well, we do have Bruce Wayne, but yeah.
But we don't have
Proto Batman, yeah.
We don't have Batman. No.
And also the other element being the portrayal of mental illness. Now, I'm not an expert on the subject, so I don't want to pronounce myself too much about how accurately portrayed mental illness was in the movie, but I do want to put my attention towards one thing, because I'm sure a lot of people might have been bothered with the fact like, oh, this is someone with a mental disease and he's a crazy murderer too, so like people are gonna associate the two. I can't speak to that, but there is one line that he has in his book, joke book, which I thought was so like profound, and so I thought was a good thing for awareness of mental illness in general, which is, he writes, the thing about being mentally ill is that people expect you to act like you're not, or to behave like you're not.
Right. It was something along those lines.
Yeah, which is something like that made me think, but that's true in general, when people are mentally ill, you expect them to behave in what we would usually call like normal behavior. That's
like
that's unfair.
In some cases, it can't happen.
But normal for them is not what is normal for you.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's very alienating, and I thought that was a very like interesting way of putting light on that issue. And I was surprised to see that a lot of people had other issues with the portrayal of mental illness. Again, I can't speak to that because I'm not an expert. So maybe there was some issues in the movie, but I couldn't see them. Did you?
No, not really. I do see though the point of how it could be, a bit difficult to take it, this association between
between the violence and the mental illness.
But at the same time, going back to my original reasoning, is that the character that we're talking about was always portrayed like that.
Yeah.
So it doesn't speak so much about people in the real world who suffer from any kind of mental illness. We are talking about a character that's been long established in that way.
And I think they try to like touch on it when Robert De Niro's character asks him, when he's doing his big speech at the end about why he killed those three guys in the subway, and ask him like, so you're just justifying your actions by saying that you're crazy, and he's saying like, no, this is not about it, And I think that was the movie's way of also telling the audience like, no, that's not about it. That's not
what the problem
That's not what this is. I guess let's transition here to that scene, which I would call it the like centerpiece of the whole movie. This is where the movie is leading the whole time, and his outburst on the stage I thought was very interesting, because it goes in different places and it goes nowhere. But like it's interesting how he even contradicts himself in some ways. He says, "I'm not political," but then makes political statements, but then says, "I don't care about any of these." Of this, but then it seems like you really care, and that's the contradiction of.
I feel like it works in the movie, in the story, like these contradictions, in the sense that he's not political on principle, but he does talk about all these things that affect his life.
Yeah.
That are in essence political, but he doesn't care about the political aspect of it.
Yeah.
He cares about how it affects him and other people whom he considers to be like him.
And so I thought that was a very interesting speech, and like even before he gets on stage and they ask him like, "Why are you dressed as a clown? Is it a political statement?" And he's like, "Oh no, I don't believe in that. I don't believe in anything."
Yeah.
He says that. It made me think, like, does he really not believe in anything, or does he just not understand that what he believes in is also a political statement?
I feel like it plays well with his, not even a mental illness or whatever, but with his craziness, like straight out. His like Joker craziness.
Yeah.
Like you see him giving into that.
Yeah, but it's that element, it's the nihilism, it's like nothing matters, and like there is no side really, but really there is a side, It's done on purpose.
Or rather, it looks more like there's his side and the rest.
Yeah, and it's done on purpose, obviously. And I thought that was an interesting portrayal of the character because it made me think about all the other portrayal of the Joker beforehand, which I always assumed, I always took it at face value. The Joker doesn't believe in anything.
Right.
That's part of his character. But then when you think about it, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
If he's doing stuff and saying stuff, like he's always making speeches. Any version of the Joker is always making speeches at Batman. And those speeches are like weighted with ideology. He does believe in something, even if that something is nihilism, even if that something is the futility of life, that is still believing in something,
Yeah.
And so in that sense, he does have a reasoning for his actions. But it's interesting. It's a character piece. It's a character study. It's a movie.
Yeah, there are a lot of other scenes that I loved. And since, as we said in the beginning, this is like a one-man show, so it's all about him. All the scenes are with him, obviously. Yeah. That scene when he's like walking in the street, he's on the stairs and he's dancing. That was so good.
Oh,
like so impressive.
Before the cops come?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. With those like Michael Jackson kind of moves.
Yeah, that's the scene on the poster. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was so good.
Oh. When you realize that the girlfriend that he had was all in his head.
Right. And because of that, it actually made me question other things too. Like when he was going to have the interview or the live show, what was he doing? I was wondering, like, the thing before wasn't real. I wonder if this one is real or it's also in his head. Like, is there something else happening?
Yeah.
It makes you, like, when you realize that the girlfriend wasn't actually there, it makes you, like, question everything
else that you've seen.
Because it seems so real.
Yeah, it seems so real, but it was also questionable, But
it worked in the sense that, like, I've watched quite a few of criminal shows, right? And I've seen that before. That type of like a story where like the criminal after he commits his a murder, he becomes like
more confident.
Yeah, exactly. And so it was so believable to me seeing that. And it's not even just that, because if they only showed one scene, like them going on a date or something like this, maybe it would be more questionable. But they show a lot of things. Like they show her in the hospital when he's like by his mom's side. They show her around him a lot.
Walking around the street and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
There is also another character. We keep saying it's a one-man show. There is another important character, I would say, is Gotham City.
Oh, okay. That's a big one.
Gotham City is portrayed in this movie, and you feel from the beginning, what kind of city this is. This is a city that it's not going well. Class warfare, and we've talked about class warfare in this year's nominee before, like with Parasite. but class warfare here is like very apparent. The how does it start? The garbage man's on strike. There's a mayoral election, and billionaire Thomas Wayne wants to become the new mayor. People are not happy with him. People are not happy with any of the rich. A lot of people with signs eat the rich or kill the rich or whatever.
Yeah.
They're happy when he kills those 3 Wall Street guy.
Right, but also in that scene where he kills the Wall Street guys, you see like the reality of things, because the rich people are obviously trying to make it seem like, oh, the poor people are, doing the bad stuff, but then you see Wall Street guys, the way they act on the train.
Mm-hmm. They were harassing that lady, and then they harass him and beat him up. And yeah, there is another side to the story, and on the news it's just like, oh, they were very good men.
Hardworking young men, smart, educated.
But anyway, the city itself, it's living, it's breathing, it's dangerous, it's a slum, and you could believe that from that kind of environment would be born a city of crime.
Yeah.
Like where crime would be rampant, where not only organized crime in the form of mafiosos and gangs would be rampant, but also all those weirdos that will come later, not on Joker, but other Batman villains. You believe that they could come up from a
that
city.
Yeah, you can see it as like a place that would nest this kind of.
Especially since they cut off funds for social services.
Right, that's part of what happens to the Joker.
Yeah, all the mentally ill people, now they're left to themselves, just like he was.
Right.
They didn't have his medications anymore, which I'm sure plays a big part in his descent to madness. And maybe certain other people out there would stop taking their medication, and turn into future villains that we know, Riddler or Penguin. Penguin is not crazy, but still,
Yeah, obviously. You can see that happening easily.
Yeah. But that was a really nice movie. Any last words?
Well, my last word to you about this movie is go and watch it. It's a very good movie. I think I've recommended all the movies of this year.
This year? Yeah.
They're all so good. This one is also so good. Definitely worth your time.
Go watch Joker if you can. It probably is in a theater near you. If it's not, you can probably rent it or something. That's what we did. We rented it. So, yeah. If you guys enjoyed our review, please hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button if you are not subscribed already, and the notification bell to be notified for when our next video drop. Leave us your comments about Joker in the comment section below, and have a nice day.